Bonjour, Paris. Bonjour, France. Merci, IAB France, for the invitation for me to speak and present to you all today. That is all the French I know. So you're going to have to endure my English, which isn't even that good. My name is Anthony Katzer. I am CEO of the IAB Tech Lab. And what I wanted to share with everyone today for a few moments is my vision for Tech Lab over the near term and long term, and some of the key initiatives we're going to be working on over the next several years. So a little background on the IAB Tech Lab. We are a 750 member strong global organization. Our remit is global, or I should say your remit is global. Your mission is global. I think that's an important distinction to make. The IAB Tech Lab is not owned by any single one entity. We are stewards of industry standards and technical frameworks for the ecosystem. This is your IAB Tech Lab. This is not my IAB Tech Lab. This is not any individual IAB Tech Lab. We work on behalf of the industry globally. We don't work for any one single entity. But we are 750 company members. We operate approximately 20 plus working groups in various areas of privacy, measurement, identity, technical standards. We steward the OpenRTB framework, the VAST standards for the industry at large. We have over 3,000 participants across the globe in all of our working groups. And we partner with 40 or more countries in the various IABs around the globe to help establish these technical standards and frameworks for the ecosystem. We maintain a global board and distinct separate set of bylaws from the IAB US. The IAB US's remit is in the United States. Tech Lab, again, is a global organization. We have board members. Criteo is a board member. T-Mobile is a board member. Yahoo Japan is a board member. We have a very international flavor to our board membership and our overall membership. I would encourage anyone who is not a member of Tech Lab at a global level to please join. We need your feedback. We seek your input. Again, we are standards and standard setting body for the globe. This is not just a US organization. We're here to serve the entire industry around the world. So today is my 4-month anniversary. I started on August 2nd of this year. And when I started, when my appointment was announced in early July, and between that time and when I actually started on August 2nd, and since then, I've heard a lot of feedback on the IAB Tech Lab from constituents in the US and globally. I've worked globally in the ad tech and digital media industry for about 27 years now, so I have relationships around the globe. And the feedback that I got on the IAB Tech Lab was global feedback. It's too consensus driven. The Tech Lab seeks consensus too often. It doesn't move fast enough as a trade organization. Tech Lab should be an enforcement arm. They're risk averse. I've also heard Tech Lab is the best thing that the IAB has ever done. I've also heard Tech Lab does a great job doing rather thankless work in the industry. But the number one point that I heard across the globe from friends and peers in the industry is too often it is lost on business owners in our ecosystem. What is the business benefit of Tech Lab's work? Product leadership, engineers, technologists, CTOs understand often the technical specifications that Tech Lab releases to the industry and how it benefits the ecosystem at large. I think where Tech Lab has failed, in one area we're going to focus on heavily in 2022 and beyond, is communicating the business benefit to the business leaders in agencies and advertisers and publishers and ad technology companies around the globe. When we release an update to the OpenRTB framework, every product and engineering leader understands why we've done it and what the benefits are to their company, but I don't know if every business leader does. And it's not because they're not smart, intelligent people, it's because that is not their focus, that is not their remit. So translating the technology that we release to the industry, the standards we release to the industries, the frameworks that we release to the ecosystem, translating that into the business benefit to the business leadership of our industry will speed adoption. It will help us evangelize and edify these standards to the betterment of the entire ecosystem. So I presented to our board about a month in to my now 4-month anniversary period, and I presented not a 1-year roadmap. I presented a 2-year North Star. I think the challenges and opportunities we face as an industry require more than just a single year of focus. And at the center of that North Star is everything identity. Identity, addressability, privacy, is an existential threat and opportunity to our industry. This is an industry that operates on the key concept of addressability. And what's behind addressability is identity. But what is an overarching concern and issue that we must continue to address is in the area of privacy. And so this is a key area of focus and will remain a key area of focus for the Tech Lab globally, to work with data protection authorities, other IABs across the globe. We've partnered deeply with IAB Europe. Townie, thank you for your partnership in working with the Tech Lab over the years, and I look forward to it being fruitful and ongoing. This is a key area of focus for the next 2 years, without question, and probably beyond that. I don't think we're not done after 2 years. But the key areas that we're focused on are the introduction of a global privacy platform. Think of that as not an evolution of TCF, but privacy inherently, and I'm going to talk about this later this afternoon, we're going to go deeper on this topic, is an inherently regional issue. The definition of consent and privacy and identity is regional. We're seeing this around the globe in markets like Brazil, in China. India is now talking about standing up privacy regulations. Japan is on the cusp of standing up privacy regulations. GDPR is here in Europe, as we know. The CCPA in the United States, the California privacy regulations, is going to evolve starting on January 1st of 2022. Privacy is inherently regional. The global privacy platform is intended to be able to manage consent and consumer privacy on a regional basis. Most advertisers we work with are global. Media companies we work with are global. You have to be able to manage privacy compliance on a regional level. The global privacy platform is that meta framework to serve that. As part of that, what hangs off of the global privacy platform is the accountability platform. The accountability platform is a concept by which the Tech Lab can offer a framework to the industry to capture consent-related data exhausts for audit and compliance purposes. Having privacy compliance without any form of audit and enforceability based on that audit of privacy standards is a paper tiger. It will never stand up to regulatory muster, nor should it. We need to do a better job of enforcement in the industry, and the accountability platform is one means for third-party and independent audit of privacy-related, consent-related data. The information disclosure model is an enhancement we're planning for the RTB protocol over the course of next year, which will allow the ad tech ecosystem to also work to manage privacy compliance on a regional basis. And then in the area of addressability, you cannot talk about identity and privacy without discussing addressability, which is really what this ecosystem is built on. We're focused on establishing clean room standards doing a better job of data matching. How do you define the inputs and outputs of first-party to first-party data matching? So the underpinning of all of this is identity. The second major initiative we're going to be focused on over the next 2 years is CTV. We're seeing a massive shift in global budgets. The latest eMarketer study, I think, estimates the number to be about $175 billion in traditional global television budgets. Over the next decade, that is going to migrate into what we know as CTV, IP-delivered television, call it OTT, call it what you will. This is going to happen over multiple years. This is a multi-year cycle. But there are some challenges and there are bridges that we need to build from a technology perspective and a standards perspective around things like establishing a common audience currency within the CTV landscape. The definition of audience over multiple different OTT platforms, the definition of audience within linear, transitioning into CTV, it's all over the map. We need technical standards if we want to speed this transition of budgets from linear television into CTV, which is where the eyeballs are going to. Putting together standards around CTV bundles. Again, it is poorly defined. There are no clear standards around how is a CTV bundle or a pod well defined. And then certainly last but not least is enhancing the deal ID to support the concept of the upfronts in television buying. So The upfronts are an annual occurrence, certainly in the US. I believe the concept also exists in other parts of the globe, including Europe. So how do we actually support the concept of an upfront in the Deal ID protocol? Security and fraud. Based on my anecdotal research, I think fraud is still very much a problem in even traditional display and digital video channels. I think it's even more of a concern in the CTV ecosystem. If you watch the organizations that commit fraud in our industry, you can just follow it over the past 10 to 15 years. It started in display, it quickly moved to digital video, and it's going to quickly move into CTV. And the opportunity is there are very rich unit economics, and the largest budgets of any advertiser are in television. And they'll be moving into CTV. So follow the money. The fraud will follow the money. They'll follow the big budgets. So we're going to be focused on security and fraud, not just specifically around CTV, but making enhancements to our ads.txt framework, our entire IVT and anti-fraud framework over the next year, and that'll be an ongoing investment. And then we're not going to neglect our core. We have OpenRTB 2.6 coming out for public comment next week. We'll have a public comment period open for 60 to 90 days for review, so that's launching. There are a lot of CTV-oriented enhancements in the 2.6 release that's coming out next week, so I encourage everyone, any product or technologist in the room, or even business leadership, please read the spec. We welcome your comments. We just released Taxonomy 3.0 about 2 months ago. We'll be doing some minor updates to that throughout the year as we get industry feedback on how people are utilizing it. So Tech Lab's role across the ecosystem. This question has come up a lot in terms of what Tech Lab does. What is our day-to-day remit? Our mission is to set technical standards for the industry. We oversee compliance with those technical standards. Not business compliance, but technical compliance with the standards that we're setting. We've expanded our remit to steward more open source initiatives and collaboration across the ecosystem. It's no secret that there was an announcement earlier this year about Tech Lab taking over UID2. UID2 is now in the Tech Lab GitHub repository, so all the code is now sourced in the Tech Lab GitHub repository. Expect more open source initiatives to be stewarded by Tech Lab, and we welcome contribution and conversations from the industry if they want to contribute open source initiatives to the Tech Lab to the betterment of the ecosystem. What we do not do, we are not an enforcement organization. I've heard this a lot just in my 4 months here around things like ads.txt. Well, can you force people to have a clean ads.txt file? Can you force people to use various parts of your privacy standards or various parts of your anti-fraud standards? No, we cannot. We're not an enforcement organization. That's not what we do. That's not in our remit. It's not in our bylaws. Our board does not give us that charter, and nor do I anticipate that at any time in the near future. We don't provide policy, counsel, or governance. We don't provide industry governance. We leave that to the IABs around the world. I mean, you set the actual industry governance. You set the business protocols. Our job is to back those up with technical standards to support those protocols. So our remit is going to be evolving over the next several years, over the next several months. We will continue leadership and evolution of standards and policy, technical standards and policy across the globe. Again, heavily focused on consumer privacy and addressability, transparency and fraud, supply chain optimization, brand safety and brand context initiatives. We'll continue to launch new tools, guides, and services. I think you'll see us be very aggressive in that area next year. Our Transparency Center will continue to evolve over the course of 2022 and beyond, and that'll be an iterative approach. You will see us accelerate our developments in the Transparency Center over the next year. Ongoing open source initiatives, as I mentioned earlier, we encourage the industry, please come talk to us. We can't do this without global support. Bring us your open source ideas. Bring us your concepts and your frameworks. We would happily engage in a conversation to see if it benefits the wider industry. Moving faster. I intend to move much faster in several areas within the Tech Lab. Standards are tricky, though. Standards will always inherently be more of a glacial pace, because when you're setting a standard, that's different than just releasing code. But I think in the areas of open source initiatives, you'll see us move much faster. In the areas of things like tools and guides, you'll see us move much faster moving into next year. And then a key remit for myself, and as I opened earlier, communication and education. I think an area of opportunity for Tech Lab globally is to better communicate the work we are doing to the business leaders of our ecosystem. But also when we release things, historically, what I've seen in Tech Lab as an outsider prior to my joining is that we release something like a new, an update to the VAST standard, or release something like an update to the taxonomy, and there's this, there's a big hurrah, and then silence. That's going to change. We're going to continue to repeat the messages and continue to reinforce the releases of standards and frameworks across the industry until the industry fully gets it. I don't want to abandon our communications. I think that's one of our biggest opportunities, besides some of the other initiatives that I've listed here. There's no better way to edify and evangelize the standards that we're setting by making sure we have clear communications across all the constituents that leverage these standards to power the ecosystem. So again, I want to thank you all for your time. I look forward to seeing many of you in the afternoon. We'll dive deeper into a number of these initiatives later today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony.